Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Mo Money, the investing show for millennials by a millennial, where our goal is to educate, entertain, and empower a new generation of investors. I am, of course, the host of this wonderful series, MC Mo. Now let's get the show on the road. Every election, there is always one topic that is a constant. Candidates are going to talk about taxes. Most likely, Democrats will ramble on and on about raising taxes on the rich, and Republicans will babble on and on about cutting taxes for everybody. Regardless of who wins, the only thing that ever really changes is the length of the tax code. Since our current tax code was put in place a century ago, it is roughly 187 times longer today than it was then. It's obvious that nobody really understands everything about the tax code except for accountants and tax lawyers, and who has money to afford those anyway? Rich people and big corporations, aka not you. Unless Tim Cook is watching this for some reason, and hello Tim! So with our current tax system, it allows corporations to lobby for favorable tax policies. It allows them to find and fund and create offshore shell companies. Rich people have offshore bank accounts and a bunch of other shady things that allow them to get away with either not paying their fair share or not paying any share at all. But that's life. Sometimes life's not fair. Sometimes Macklemore's forgettable album beats Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City for a Grammy. Sometimes awesome TV shows like Freaks and Geeks get canceled after one season, and awful shows like Two Broke Girls get 7. That's not fair. But what if life could be fair? Maybe not everything in life can be fair, but is there a way we can at least try to make taxes a little bit more fair for everybody? Let me introduce you to House Resolution 25, aka the FairTax, a plan designed to strip down the current U.S. tax code, abolish all current taxes, and impose a single consumption tax. Now, our current tax code drives in revenues from income taxes, payroll taxes, corporate taxes, and a few other taxes. But the bottom line is when you are productive, you are basically punished for it by having to pay taxes on your productivity. You go to work every day. You give 100% of your effort to make a good life for you and your family, and how are you rewarded? With a check that represents an effort of only about 70 to 75% of your work. The FairTax does not want to punish these productive activities. The FairTax looks to collect taxes on one thing and one thing only: consumption, spending, buying stuff. The FairTax would look to impose a federal sales tax of 23%, which would be inclusive. Emphasis on the inclusive part, meaning it's included in the price. So let's say something costs $100, you wouldn't be paying $100 plus an extra 23% or $23. You'd be paying only $100, and the tax would be included in the price. So what you see on the shelf, that's what you're paying for the product or the service. So let's break down some of the points of the FairTax and some of the benefits. First is transparency. Right now we pay a lot of hidden taxes, like those imposed by companies on the prices of their products. You have cigarette and alcohol taxes, gasoline taxes, healthcare taxes. You don't really recognize these things, but these are extra taxes that you pay every single day. FairTax would eliminate those taxes. You would know exactly what tax you are paying. You're paying a 23% sales tax, and that is all. But the great part is that it eliminates essentially all need to file your tax returns, saving Americans $1 billion in fees, making April 15th just another day, which is the popular slogan of the FairTax. The great part about not having to file your taxes, while it makes the taxes that you pay more transparent, it makes what you do more secretive, or, less intrusive, less known to the government. When you're paying your taxes now, you're basically telling the IRS everything that you did in that year, where every dollar that you spent went, what charity you donated to, on and on. And although it's not a big deal if you're not doing anything illegal, it still just sometimes feels like an invasion of your privacy. With the FairTax, you're basically paying taxes anonymously, and as long as the government is getting its money, it shouldn't care how it's getting it or who it's getting it from. The next question is, will this plan generate enough revenue? Well, the brains behind the plan say yes, it will, that the plan is revenue neutral, meaning the same amount of money will be brought in, but just in a different way. And there's a point to be made by this claim. The plan is all about taxing consumption. Consumption is about as constant as it gets. Even when there's a major downturn in the economy, people may be out of work, but they won't stop spending the little money that they do have. At the same time, taxing consumption increases the amount of people in the pool of taxpayers. By collecting taxes on spending, it pulls everybody under the federal tax umbrella. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. I'm talking about pimps, playas, MacDaddies, prostitutes, hookers, strippers, drug dealers, drug smugglers, churches, assassins, clowns, etc. They're all paying taxes now. No more illegal black market economy that doesn't have to pay taxes. Also being brought under the federal tax umbrella will be illegal immigrants. So all those people who complain about Mexicans and everybody else not paying taxes, fear no more. They will be paying taxes now, thus increasing their motivation for becoming legal citizens. One of the major concerns about the FairTax plan is that it is a regressive plan, meaning that it punishes low-income income people unfairly in comparison to those higher wage earners. People of low income spend mostly all of their paychecks, so having to pay taxes on consumption unfairly penalizes the poor. So in response, the FairTax plan implements a prebate, which is a check that the government sends to families each month to cover the cost of essentials up to the poverty line. It is not an entitlement program. It is the government sending back your money that they overcollected. The same way the government sends you your tax return every year. Nobody calls that an entitlement. The estimation of their prebate is much easier than someone saving all their receipts and turning them in and saying, see, I got taxed on eggs, milk, toilet paper, blah, blah, blah. Instead, the number is calculated by the number of people living in each household, and then the check is sent depending on how much they believe that family will spend on taxes of essential goods like food, clothing, etc. The supporters of the FairTax really push it as this beautiful tax system that will unleash massive amounts of capital, spending, and productivity. Thousands of jobs will be created, people will all become wealthier, the economy will grow, corruption will be rooted out of politics, and everything will be dandy. I mean, obviously that's not how life works, but let's take a second to imagine a hypothetical world where the fair tax works well. First, every American would go home with 100% of their paychecks. Right off the bat, you're feeling good about getting 100% compensation for 100% of your effort. You're feeling good, maybe you want to go buy yourself something nice, like a watch or a TV. That's great, but you know that you're going to have to pay a 23% tax on those purchases. Or maybe you're conservative, so you put it in the bank or you invest it. With the fair tax, every penny you earn on your investment, you keep. Thus, people feel encouraged to invest money. The more money that is saved and the more money that is invested creates a larger pool of money at banks and financial institutions. Banks now feel better about giving loans since they have more money to lend, which means lower interest rates. Lower interest rates makes it more affordable for people to buy cars, pay mortgages, get student loans, etc. The fair tax creates more money for every citizen, and of course you also get the prebate for your essential. Then you have corporations. Corporations are paying zero income tax. Right now there is trillions of dollars of American corporations' money sitting in offshore and other country bank accounts that U.S. corporations refuse to bring home because it will be taxed, which it feels unfair because it was already taxed in the country where it was earned. Under the fair tax, companies will only pay taxes when they spend on things like inventory and maintenance and every other expense a business may have. They won't have a huge tax department to pay for working year-round. They're all fired, which frees up space and money for other more productive employees, machinery, research and development, etc. With them investing their money this way, productivity will increase, which equals rising profits and thus rising wages. At the same time, cutting the expenses for income taxes and payroll taxes, companies will be able to lower prices, which will pair nicely in the market with rising wages. By taxing a company's consumption, it is a surefire way to get them to pay taxes. Corporations' share of the government tax revenues has gone from 32% in 1952 to 10% in 2013. The fair tax creates little to no possible way of creating any tax loophole for a corporation. They cannot lobby for a tax break because it's impossible for the Congress to give them any. The only way they could get a tax break is to stop spending money. In business, where you gotta spend money to make money, you might as well just close up shop if that's your plan. With all this time saved creating laws for their corporations that they earn the pocket of, Congress may find itself able to focus on more productive things. Finally, corporations will not pay taxes on things they export to make them more competitive in the global market, and pay regular fair tax on things that they import. This 0% corporate tax rate will drive corporations, in theory, en masse to the United States to do business. It will be cheaper to produce here, labor will be cheaper here, everyone will want to come here to do business. There you have it, folks. This is just a general introduction to the fair tax. It has its supporters, but of course it has its detractors as well. Some say it's just a giant tax cut for the rich. Some say it's a giant welfare program. Some say 23% is too high. Some say it's too low. Some say it won't cover the government's budget. Others say it won't help to reduce the government's budget. There are always going to be a million insults and doubts thrown at new ideas. It's the way of the world. I'm not saying that the fair tax does not deserve the doubts, and I'm not saying that it's 100% perfect, but it does have the right idea in mind. We as Americans deserve a tax system that is more fair, whether it's a fair tax or some other tax system. Bernie Sanders campaigned on a platform of making the rich pay their fair share and making corporations pay their taxes. This, in theory, would do that. Bottom line is this. You, her, him, your mom, your brother, me, we have no clue or the time to figure out how the tax system works right now. It's too complex, and that's on purpose. It's supposed to fool and confuse people so people can get rich off of you not knowing what's going on. So you just pay it and you be on your way. We deserve something simple, something fair, something that works for everybody. Like I said, this may or may not be the answer, but it's about time that we get serious about an actual tax reform that works instead of just yelling,
tax the rich, tax the corporations, wah wah wah,
or
our taxes are too high, we can't compete, we're leaving, wah wah wah.
Taxes are your yearly dues to the most awesome country club in the world. Our club's currently under a bit of renovation, but we are working on it. We need to make sure we get the money that we need to make our country club great in the most effective way. Thank you so much for watching another episode. You know we'll be here every week with with a new episode of Mo Money. For now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Like me on Facebook. Mo Money. Signing out.
Respect up on the street, under the sun, the past the sun.